everyone. I'm Omar Abbas. I'm a PhD student at University College London, and here today I'm presenting my work, which is digital twin validation as a dynamic system, and I'm going to be using a causal loop diagram approach. This work is supervised by Broyd and Nicola, who's present with us. So let's start. So quickly, it's only a 9-minute presentation, so I only afford to give you an idea about these sections only. So I'll start with the background, methodology, then findings and discussion, and finally the conclusions. I'm sure this room is full of digital twin experts already, but just quickly, this is the definition that I'm going to be using throughout my presentation, and this one is by an ISO standard, the 3173 about digital twins. So it's digital twin is a digital representation of a target entity with data conversions between digital and physical at an appropriate rate of synchronization. This is the interesting part for me because in the early conceptualizations of digital twins, it was mostly like a real-time representation of the physical asset, but now we've moved towards an appropriate rate of synchronization, which is up to the user or the developer of digital twins. As for the challenges I've been facing, so digital twins have been continuously prescribed as drivers of value, but when I researched into this, I found that most of the value of digital twins is described as like benefits, suggestions, or potential benefits, or value propositions, and this was not very clear to me what is the value and the combined value of digital twins, or whether they deliver actual value. And I've also found from the literature that some companies or some firms were finding difficulty to justify this investment, as this was reflected actually in the first presentation, that we need to move towards quantitative ROI of digital twins. And the other thing is a lot of the people consider value to be the same as benefits, but when digging into literature, this was not the case actually. And what I found is value is more about an interaction between benefits and costs. So it's either the quotient of benefits of costs, and you can also use other appraisal techniques to get to the value of something. And having already identified the two sides of the equation, so the first one, when you think about benefits, these benefits could be either tangible or intangible. And tangible benefits are those that we can easily quantify, but it gets really difficult to quantify the intangible benefits. And the other one, another classification we could use for digital twins, or for the benefits, which is they could be strategic benefits. So these are the long-term benefits that could be accrued over maybe a couple of years, and we can move on to the operational ones, which we can find on a daily basis, or the day-to-day user of the digital twin can find. For the cost side, it's a bit easier, I'd say, because you can either deal with direct technology costs, which are the technology costs of digital twins, or maybe there could be some other indirect costs, and these include the social factor behind the digital twins. And of course, the last and very obvious one is capital expenditure. This is what we pay initially to get the technology, and then operational, the ones that we pay during the operational years of the digital twin. To do this, I've come up with two research questions and some objectives. So I'm trying to first understand to identify what are the benefits and costs of digital twins, and this is from the perspective of an asset owner. And the second one, I wanted to see how do those two interact together through causal relationships and feedback loops. I'll tell you more about that in a bit. So the first objective was to identify and synthesize digital twin benefits and costs. And the second one was to structure them into an integrated system, because as I've said before, I'm trying to deal with an asset owner. And finally, I will develop a causal loop diagram to show how this value is improve over time. So causal loop diagrams, they are part of system dynamics modeling, and they only show the qualitative relationships between variables involved when you are studying a system. So how we've done this, first step was to identify and synthesize those benefits and costs. So initially, we already presented a systematic literature review about the benefits and costs of digital twins. And in this paper, it was actually based on the benefits and costs that were provided via empirical evidence. And this means that the ones which have been actually proven in case studies, for instance, or other ones that have been collected through surveys. But we decided to expand those. So initially, I've come across two studies that use two different technologies, but which are building information modeling and augmented reality. But in some of the literature sources, I found that authors refer to those technologies as maybe an essential part of digital twins. You should be using digital twins. And the other one were some cost studies. These ones were very interesting, but I have to say that they were from the manufacturing industry, but they just allowed me to refine what are the costs of digital twins. This is just a quick, can't see anything, it's okay. So these are the benefits that I have compiled from the systematic literature review, and you can find that I've classified them from strategic, tactical, and operational benefits. And the next part, these were the costs. So very easy, very simple, just some direct costs and some indirect costs. And the next part is the system of the asset owner. So if you look into the first part, this is the processes and data subsystem. So this one is just basically the workflows or the organization itself. And then these workflows are used or implemented by some user, which is the human subsystem or the personnel and labor. And then these two together, they lead to some sales or market outcomes. So this could be like organizational reputation or maybe sales demand. And then finally, all of this is transferred into some financial value or maybe financial cost as well. And this is the part I want to talk about, but it's a bit difficult and I hope you can see. So this is the causal loop diagram, and this is the first subsystem. So initially, we'll start from the outside. So if you look to the outside, you can see some dotted rectangles, purple rectangles. So this is the benefit of the digital twin. So I'm assuming that we introduce some capability to the existing system of the asset owner. And then these capabilities, they affect some metric or operational metric. So for instance, if you look at information and documentation quality, they can reduce the rework and error incidence rate. And also, if we have better resource allocation efficiency, we can have less execution time. And this will be eventually transferred into some financial value. And next is the personnel labor. So nothing that much about here. It's mostly just a regular organization. But here, I'm assuming that we're introducing safety and monitoring capability. And then the next one, sales and market subsystem. And just quickly on these arrows. So the arrows, if we have a plus sign, and I'm using a blue one here, blue color for this one, it's assuming that if one variable increases, the other will eventually increase, and vice versa for the minus signs. And finally, this is the finance and accounting subsystem. So just more or less, we have some benefits, and then we subtract from them the direct and indirect costs, and then we get to the earning for interest and taxes. And these are some of the feedback loops that I've come across when building the model. So I don't think it's interesting at this stage, but it will be more interesting when we get to the quantification part, which I haven't done yet. But again, just straightforward loop. Things improve with an organization with improved quality and other factors as well. And finally, my conclusions for this work was that digital twins are values better understood as a dynamic system and not as a static list of benefits and costs. And the model presented shows how value is realized over time and how organizational capability building is accrued over time. And finally, for the future agenda, I'll be validating and refining the identified digital twin benefit costs through expert interviews and stakeholder workshops. And I'll be quantifying those variables just to come across numbers. And I've actually done some work in this area, so I've already built a stock and flow diagram, which is the second part of system dynamics modeling, the quantitative bit. And I've already validated a bit of it, so I'm interested to have a conversation with anyone, someone is interested in this topic. And finally, this was done also as part of the second step. I need to expand the financial boundary beyond earning before interest and taxes. And thank you very much. Happy to have your questions.